So I believe welcome to the first Cardiff Blues Q&A with members from the Cardiff Blues board. We've obviously got our chairman, Alun Jones, with us, chief executive, Richard Holland, one of our directors, Andrew Williams, and our newest addition, board advisor, Nigel Walker. So, Tiki, if I pass over to you and you want to kick us off, and then we'll get into the questions.
Yeah, fab. Thanks, Mike. Just a quick warm welcome to all of you. Obviously, it'd be remiss of me not to mention, obviously, it's been difficult times with this COVID over the last number of months. I hope everyone is doing okay. I wish we were doing this at the Arms Park as normal, but this is a strange one for doing a Q&A this way. But hopefully, it won't be too long before we can get everyone back down the Arms Park and both to support the team and obviously do these type of events. Communication's been quite challenging over the last few months, given the restrictions and etc. Largely due to the uncertainty we faced as an organisation and the impact on a number of our staff and families. We felt that sort of the communication needed to be controlled, and I'm sure you'll all understand, and we'll touch on that a bit as we answer some of the questions. I was just having a catch up with Nigel actually. I don't know if you caught it on the game out in Parma, but a great start. I thought the boys dug in when we went down to 14. A superb defensive display, and we can all be delighted in the first game. But let's not get carried away. It'd be great to back it up in Newport for a home game against Connaught, and hopefully go 2 from 2. But that'll play out on Saturday. But enough of the sort of the welcome. Obviously, we've got a lot of questions to get through over the next hour or so. So I'll ask Mike to get cracking and get the first question underway, and we can go from there.
Yeah, sorry, and probably just a bit of housekeeping to add. We've obviously got a load of pre-submitted questions, which we'll work through initially, and your comments on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever it may be, they're all coming through. So if there's anything we don't cover in the initial round of questions, we'll add them in at the end. But as I say, we'll do our best to get through everything now in the next hour. So first question, Richard, I'll just pull it up onto the screen and we'll carry on from there.
Okay, great. So the way this is going to work is I'll pick up the front bit, and then we can get Alun, Andrew, and Nigel involved in their areas of expertise and add anything they wish to as we're going along. So the first question is, how can the league improve its interest from supporters when players are regularly away with their country and top teams only need to play second-string sides? A fairly apt question, given that the Welsh squad was announced this morning. It's always been a challenge for Pro 14, and it's always been one that comes up in CEO meetings that I attend, and the Pro 14's desire to want to try and steer clear of international windows. The fact of the matter is there are not enough weekends in the calendar to steer clear completely. Pro 14 employs more international players across the competition than any other league. It's just a shame, as Tony alludes to here, that they're not on duty as regularly as we would like. So I think personally, it'd be remiss of me not to say that my preference would be a British and Irish league. I think Alun alluded to that in his simile in his Q&A. Unfortunately, that's not in my gift to deliver to you, our supporters, but we can only lobby the right parties to see if that's ever achievable. And obviously, CVC are now a key determining factor in that, and I'm sure they'll be deliberating and talking in due course. What we can say is, in the short term, and it's been well documented, obviously the potential addition of the 4 South African teams replacing the Cheetahs and the Kings is yet to be confirmed, but certainly with the Bulls, the Sharks, Lions, and Stormers potentially coming on board, we're certainly in for a stiffer competition with regards to the Pro 14 or 16 as it might be, and we'd have to certainly sharpen ourselves to to compete with those clubs, which can only be a good thing for the competition. Before I think it might be wise to ask Nigel to give his thoughts, and certainly for somebody who played at the very top end, and to give us his sort of insight to the competitions you play in. The last thing is the World Rugby and the global season is very much a very current discussion, and one of the primary objectives they want to achieve, if all parties are agreeable, is to separate the international game or the international window from the domestic one, which will hopefully get us away from some of the issues that Tony alludes to. But Nigel, have you sort of got anything to sort of want to add in terms of from a playing perspective and the fixtures that you played in and your time as a pro?
Well, I'll keep it short. British and Irish League would be my preference as well. I don't think there are any secrets there. But first of all, we've got to learn to beat the opposition that's in front of us. The Pro 14 is competitive. It's not as if we're winning that year in, year out. The teams that are winning it, Munster and Leinster to name just two, are also very competitive and are winning European titles. So if we can get into a position where we are winning the Pro 14, it will make us even more attractive to the English. And then a British and Irish League might come around even more quickly than we imagine. But we've got to start being competitive. We've got to start winning. Vic, you've already alluded to the great win on Saturday away from home. Let's back it up with a win against Connacht. Let's get a string of W's, win the competition that's in front of us, and let's see where we go from there.
Great, Alun. Anything on sort of global season? Or I know you had this in your discussion with Simon. But anything to add on that front? I think you put you pinned your colours to the mast.
No, absolutely. I think I mean the key to this is the global season, isn't it? It's I think was it last season? I forget. Was it last season or the season before? We were playing. Wales were playing England. I think it was in Cardiff. Scotland were playing France in Paris, and we were kicking off against Edinburgh at 7 o'clock. Half an hour before or after. Scotland were kicking off in Paris. I mean, that's crazy on any view of it. So I mean, our global season is paramount. It's the answer to this particular question, isn't it? And it's something that we'd all like to see. And actually, it's crucial for us, with the playing base that we've got. It's crucial to us, to be able to win, the Pro 14, challenge in the Pro 14, challenge in Europe, to have that segmented properly. And I think, same as you, same as Nigel, pinned my colours to the mast, British and Irish League. But let's deal with the reality. I think I mentioned last week, we're in the Pro 14 at the moment. It takes everyone to agree, British and Irish. I think if the big four, the big South African four, do join us, that certainly raises the Pro 14. I don't think there's any easy games in the Pro 14. So I don't subscribe to the view that it's an easy competition. The addition of those four would certainly push it up higher again. And then you do start wondering, well, how on earth are you supposed to compete then if you don't have a global season? So I'm sure some of you would have picked up in the Times this morning an article talking about world rugby leaders needing to get together to solve these problems, and now is the time to deal with it. Let's just deal with it. Everyone is suffering at the moment. Let's just deal with it. Put all old rivalries to one side and actually think about what we need to make this game sustainable and make this game more attractive in the future. So my plea to is to the national rugby leaders to actually solve this problem and solve it quickly for the betterment of the game.
Great stuff.
Perfect. So next question, with season tickets last year costing £245, what real benefits are there from people buying a season ticket when you can get Premier Sports for £80, especially when no away fans? I think it's the away fans piece, just picking this up first, links to the previous question and the challenges in the Pro 14, obviously with cross-border. It's when we go down to South Africa or away in Ireland, and it's and those teams come to us, it's extremely challenging. But what I would say is, the derby fixtures that we have, sellouts are absolutely incredible. Nigel, hopefully you can touch on what it's like to play in front of a packed Arms Park in a Mo. But I tend to agree with you, Tony. Here, it's challenging to internally with no away fixtures, having two sets of fans going hammer and tongs at each other, and when we have that on derbies, it's the fan experience is that much improved. It's be interesting to hear Nigel's view of actually when you're out on the field and the difference that you guys, all our supporters, make to the players and giving the edge. Nigel, do you want to potentially touch on that a moment?
Seeing as you've teed me up in that way, it'd be rude not to. I'm getting on a bit now, but I can still remember playing in front of a packed Arms Park, whether it be against Bath, or whether it be against Swansea, whoever it was against. And when you run out, first of all, you can feel the atmosphere. And when you feel you've done something good and the crowd are chanting and cheering for you, when you're tired in the 60th minute and you're hanging on by 3 or 4 points, that's what gets you over the line. So I dare say it will make a difference to supporters to be there live. I was at Rodney Parade a few weeks ago to watch the Blues against the Ospreys, and you see more when you're at the ground. There's no two ways about that. Any real rugby fan will want to watch it from behind the post to see the way the backs line up and everything else. Or maybe that's just an anorak like me, I don't know. But you get so much more out of being there, and then the players get a hell of a lot out of you being there, especially when you're in full voice. So please don't turn away. We're going to make the board, the executive, the players, the coaches are going to make this one of the most exciting teams in Europe. It may not happen this season, but I feel we're on our way. And if I didn't think we were going to become one of the best teams in Europe, I wouldn't be giving up my time to give advice to the board the way that I've agreed to over the coming months and years.
So just to move on, we've got a couple of questions on a similar theme, Dickie. So I'll just run through 3 of them and then we'll crack on. So it's around the kind of kit designs and identity. Another one here from Gareth Aubrey. And finally from the Trust, which again is around identity, heritage, and the brand position.
Yeah, in terms of, do you want to pick them up as a collective, Mike? In terms of, yeah. So there's been a lot of work sort of going on in this area over the last few months, and again, I think Alun alluded to it. So in his Q&A, and I'm sure want to say a few bits. And with Andrew's experience as a supporter, as a youngster of Cardiff RFC, I know that he would like to maybe address this point as well. But as an executive, we've been challenged by the board to, I think it's in one of the other questions, sort of to commission to explore how we can utilise and maximise our history. So we're nearing the sort of completion of that that process, and it's what I would like to do in answer to the question is present that to either through this forum, both to our staff, our players, our supporters, to get their buy-in and get their opinion before the board makes any sort of final decision on how things might look moving forward. But it's we've listened, we hear the what people have been saying. We actually some months ago I started the process by presenting a proposal to the board to look at the involvement of the RFC in the in the sort of rugby side of things, or on the rugby side of things. And some of you may have read that we actually positioned the RFC in as a sort of second team / rags. Unfortunately, due to COVID, they haven't actually played a game, and we're still no clearer as to when they might play, which is disappointing because involving all the right people from our organisation, we feel from a rugby perspective as well as from a heritage and brand perspective, it's the right thing to have done and the right thing to do. We employ 50 professional players. We've got an academy now that's bigger than ever. And you then add to that a supplementary group of semi-pro RFC guys. There's an awful lot of asset at our disposal, and having a second team, or RAGs, whatever we want to refer to them as, underneath the pro team is 100% the right thing to do, I believe, and the rugby department believe, from a rugby perspective. And having had dialogue from with Nigel, he's sort of he said to us, well, why hasn't this happened sooner? So it's it's quite a big question. Alan, do you want to touch on the and expand on the bits you touched on in your Q&A with Simon?
Yes, yeah, by all means. I think from memory, and I know my memory's hazy sometimes, but from memory, I think in my very first interview I gave following my appointment, I spoke then about the about the size of the Cardiff brand itself, and the the history that Cardiff had, both as a as a rugby team. But I also kind of alluded to it as being a global brand, I think. I can't remember whether it was an article. It might have been a Q&A, actually, that I did with Mike, and spoke about this, just soon after I started my role. And I spoke then as well about kind of the regional obligations that we have as well. And I don't see them as being mutually exclusive. So, and I think it probably. What I was alluding to last week was that you can marry those two things quite comfortably, and I think it's probably helpful for me to set out. It's in my priority, if you like, for the first year. I know I can't believe it's nearly 2 years now. The first year of the role really was one looking at the business and in fact concentrating on bringing new skills onto the board, and rebuilding a board that had served Cardiff Blues for years and years and years, diligently, and there was we needed new blood onto the board, and that's happening now, obviously with Andrew and Hayley and Nigel joining us as an advisor. So you've already got a very talented board already, and we just added to it effectively. So that was the first priority. Second priority then was kind of going into my second year. I think it was developing the rugby, and of course these things are happening all the time. But the big focus for year two was going to be developing the rugby, building a squad, dealing with the funding model and the funding package from PRB, and looking to maximise then the brand, the rugby brand, and the commercial brand that that we have as the capital city. Unfortunately, it's kind of we've certainly done a lot on that whole kind of brand piece. Mike's done a lot of work. Nigel's done, or the board has done a lot of work on this. But the truth of the matter is that COVID overtook us, and we've had to concentrate on other matters really in the last kind of 6 and nearly 9 months now. Concentrating on the staff, on the health of the business. But in the background, these things have still kind of carried on. We've done what we can to progress these. So what I mean by bringing Cardiff to the fore is actually bringing the history of Cardiff to the fore, and it goes hand in hand with doing the best we can commercially as well. So it's looking at Cardiff not only as a rugby brand, but also as the capital city, as the commercial driver, if you like, for Wales and Southeast Wales in particular. So the Cardiff, the Cardiff name in itself and the Cardiff brand in itself, it attracts an awful lot of history. You go anywhere around the world, everybody's heard of Cardiff. And I think where you've then got the prospect of CVC coming into the mix changes everything as well. And you do really have to look at at maximising all of the resource, everything that you have, in order to realise the commercial benefit for the team as well. And actually, when you look at an enlarged Pro 14 then, it becomes even more important. The prospect of a B&I, if we could get a break, even then, getting those old rivalries starting again. So that's an important factor to it. But as I say, so is actually positioning Cardiff properly in terms of the commerciality and what it brings to us, and in hand with building a successful team is maximising then the commercial opportunity that brings, and I believe only the capital city will bring. So I think there's that aspect to it, and I think then the regional obligations are one that go hand in hand with our with our obligations under the PRA. So our role, we have a central role in developing talent for the Welsh national team, and I think in that context, where our regional obligations lie is providing that elite pathway for players, from across the region. So. And I think that's a two-way thing. It's us making sure that we've got the right pathway, the right infrastructure, that we've got the right coaching, that we've got the right support to develop those players along the way, but also that we're providing a shop window for them, if you like, a route to the pro game, a route to the national game, and we're doing our part in that. Alongside that, we've got engagement, so it's we would want to, in any event, kind of attract as many people to our brand, to the regional pro game, and to our brand, but with that as well is doing our part for Welsh rugby as well. So making sure that people don't. There's lots of there's an awful lot of competition for fans nowadays in all kinds of sports. So it's doing our part for Welsh rugby there as well, and making sure that we've got that engagement across the region that we've been entrusted with. So you can actually have both, and you have to work hard to develop both and position both. But they're not exclusive. This is something that that we can do together. I think if we look at the history of Cardiff, Cardiff always attracted talent from across South Wales to play for it. It always has done. And further afield, and it always will do. So this is nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to be scared of. We can do both. It's about using what we have to the best advantage of not only the team, but the brand, the commerciality, but also the region. So, and that's how I see it, as a holistic kind of way of positioning the brand and positioning the region. Bit long-winded. But it's kind of. I hope I explained it.
Andrew, I know, Andrew, you've had a couple of discussions with representatives from the CF10 Trust, and I think it'll be interesting for the viewers to understand. Sort of, I mentioned earlier your importance of the brand.
Yeah, so I'm born and bred Cardiff. Had a season ticket from when I was 8 years old on the North Terrace till I was, in fact, until we moved from the Arms Park and went over to Cardiff City Stadium. And then, unfortunately, had to move away from Cardiff. So over 30 years supporting the club through thick and thin. I think I take your point. I mean, in my lifetime and well before my lifetime, Cardiff's always been a destination from players absolutely through the valleys. Bleddyn Williams, Cliff Morgan, Gethin, Jenkins, Martin Williams, that they've come to play from Cardiff. So I think that pathway, either formal or informally, has always been there. I think from a business point of view, I mean, I run a global group of maybe sort of 50 companies, and they're all independent. And their success, part of their success comes from retaining that identity. What makes them different? What makes it? What do they actually mean in terms of their brand and what they mean in their market? And there's no doubt Cardiff is a global brand in rugby. And I think as we think forward, it runs through a number of things we talked about. If we're going to, a British and Irish League may not be on the horizon this year, but if it is in 3, 4, 5 years' time, we've got to up our game both on and off the field. I think off the field, the lever we've got to pull is the Cardiff brand. What runs from that is we've got to sort out the ground. We know about the ground in terms of the lease, but also how do we, what's the plan for redevelopment over the medium to long term? And what follows from that is how do we attract the right kind of investment and investors to protect top quality rugby at Cardiff Arms Park over the longer term. So these things, I think the business side, the rugby side goes hand in hand, and a lot of it revolves around getting it right in terms of identity to start with.
Okay, should we move on?
So the question is, what have we done as a management team to help keep your furloughed and non-furloughed staff mental health resilient during the lockdown? It goes without saying, it's been a hugely challenging period. And as an organisation, I touched on it earlier, we've had to take some difficult decisions and that have affected staff and families. We've tried as best we can to keep regular communications with all our staff on furlough. And at one point, all the players were on furlough, the coaches were on furlough. Senior managers were tasked with having weekly phone calls with every member of the team. I moved our weekly management meetings to a daily meeting. So myself and the management team were meeting on a daily basis to ensure that any issues were flagged up, and any information that we needed to get out as things were so fast moving and ever changing. That the staff, half of the biggest difficulty was obviously not. We weren't aware of what the next steps were, but when they did come our way, we wanted to get that information as quickly and efficiently as possible to our most important people, who are our staff. We did a number of online staff events. We did quizzes, we did cooking classes with Spiro, who some of you may have known. We did dinner parties, we did Zoom events, we did sort of a strength and conditioning workout for our staff, charity challenges, and picking up on our players. This is a really good point. This mental health resilience, and it's becoming more apparent in males, and we're acutely aware of it. And we were very lucky to have a brilliant guy in our system from the WRPA, which is the Welsh Rugby Players Association, and Phil does a brilliant job looking after not just the players, but people in the organisation if they want assistance or help. We also have a full-time access to a professional in Wisconsin, the Welsh Rugby Union, and we think this is such an important area. We're making moves as we speak over the last month or so to recruit. It's either going to be a full-time person for Cardiff Blues, or we'll share them with another region. But we're working in collaboration with the Welsh Rugby Union because we're taking this area so seriously. So it's a great point. It's difficult times, and we're doing everything we can to support our staff and players and employees. Progressive sports clubs have supporter representation at board level. Cardiff Blues Limited have been considering this for several years, but with no tangible progress having been made to date, does the board recognise? So I'll very quickly, before I probably ask Andrew and Alun to expand. This was very much on the agenda for a full board strategy day that we had diarised for September, where all the board were going to come to Cardiff and this was very high on the agenda because we know it's an important issue for many supporters and shareholders. And the board are extremely keen to discuss it further. It has been discussed at previous board meetings, but I think Alun, you're keen to build this into the strategy day. and make some decisions. If do you want to pick it up from there?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, and the sad reality is that, you know, the last 2 strategy days have had to be, you know, postponed at the, you know, the 11th hour, really. So, you know, it's something that, you know, we've already spoken at board about it, you know, and have it firmly on the agenda anyway. You know, what we had done was to kind of say, look, this, you know, that there is, you know, an absolute definite benefit to this, but you know, it's something that we need to kind of think through within the context of everything that's going on in the business at the time, and business of the future. So we had it on the strategy day, and you know, the first strategy day from memory was, you know, it was probably April time, something like that, you know, toward the end of last season. That one obviously got postponed. You know, we made the brave move of trying to get it back, you know, up and running in September, you know, and lo and behold, kind of, you know, 3 days, 4 days before that, then, you know, sadly we have the, you know, the local lockdown in Cardiff came about. So it is very firmly on the agenda, you know, and I think we're all awake to the benefits that this brings, you know. So you know, you know, you have my assurance. It's right up there. There's something that, you know, we've spoken about. You know, I spoke to Andrew a lot about this as well. So if Andrew wants to add in anything.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think to me, first of all, I think we are, since we've sort of got our heads up, as it were, and look to the future, we have made a big effort to engage more with supporter groups. So I've already had an informal catch up with CF10. I've got another couple of those between now and the end of the year. I know that we've also seen initiatives by Cardiff Blues Brothers, the Blues Brothers, not the Blues Brothers, the Blues Brothers, but the Supporters Club as well. That's it. So the 3 groups. And I think part of the challenge there for me is what's the best way to engage with those supporter groups? You know, is it a seat on the board, or actually is it a more formal way of giving them a forum to have input to the board, and the board to communicate in a more formal way? So we've been down to Parker Scarlets, for example, to see how they do it. So we are looking around for what's the best solution for us. And I do think, you know, I'm on a public company board where it's one of the few public companies in the UK that's got an employees on the board. And the reality is, you know, that it's difficult for them to be representatives of the whole employee group. So that they're sitting there really as just an employee voice around the board table, but as individuals. I don't think that's quite what we're maybe looking for here. I think probably for us, it's going to be more important to make sure we're hearing, you know, the main voices in our supporter groups as to what they care about, and making sure that we're doing the right thing for the collective rather than them individually. So I'm, you know, open-minded to it, and I think the more we engage with supporter groups, the more likely we are to find the right solution to this.
Yeah, I just on those supporters group, I just like to add that, you know, I'm lucky to have you know, a great relationship with both CF10 Trust and Cardiff Blues Supporters Club. And obviously the Blues Brothers have come on recently, and I know that management have met with them, and they've got some brilliant ideas, and we're that everyone comes at things from a different, slightly different approach. But I would urge any supporters that if they've got, as it stands currently, to use those resources to ensure the message currently gets through to us, because you know, I'm meeting with the CF10 Trust every couple of weeks, and they're doing a sterling job. Given our present financial position, how we will be able to repay the loan brokered by the Welsh Rugby Union? So I think it's important before answering the question, which I shall. It's important to say that this we were trading in a decent position. COVID hit us, and unfortunately, we like every other sporting institution on the planet has ended up in a bit of a financial predicament. You know, we're extremely lucky that our governing body has stepped in with a loan by way of securing that loan, and delivering it to us to in order for us to trade through the next 12 months. It's without making any making no bones about it. Without the loan, we'd be struggling to exist. Being frank, and so there are lots of other sporting clubs around the world that I'm sure would be hoping and wishing for their governing bodies to do something similar. Saying that, it means that we're going to be levied with a significant loan moving forward, and the plan is that the WRU will offset the repayments against any future funding. So the board and along with myself and the executive team are looking at that and looking at ways we can increase through other sources of income. And it's difficult times. It's the repayment plan is significant. It is at the moment one that the absolute answer isn't available, but we're still here. We're surviving, and we're with the loan. We'll see. I speak to my senior players once a week, and they ask me this question. And because it's a loan, it's not linked to the turbulence of commercial income. I can safely sit in front of them and say that we're okay until the beginning of next financial year, and then we'll hopefully have come out of COVID to a degree, and the trading position will be very different. But it would be wrong of me to say that if for example, the Six Nations are played behind closed doors, that'll have another impact on the centre's incomes. So it's there are uncertain times ahead, but the loan as it stands is well received, and without it we would be in a dark place. But Alun, do you want to, or Andrew, do you want to add to that at any level?
Well, I just think reiterate again that we began, I think back in early March, we put together our short-term plan. What are our three priorities? Number one was, can we secure emergency funding for financial survival until June 21? Number two was, can we maintain an ability to fulfill our fixtures? And number three is, can we build a sustainable business beyond June 21? And I think, at that point, there wasn't even visibility of how the WRU or who could support us with that funding. So you're right, Richard. It's needs must at times like this, and I think having got that, it gives us the breathing space we need to manage our other creditors. Obviously, we've had to make decisions around staff salaries. We've had to find in the interim find a new training venue and somewhere to play, support the Dragon Hospital. So within all of that, actually, the getting the loan secured and that security just gives us the breathing space we need. But I underline what you said, Richard. It comes back to what I said before. It then comes down to what's the best way in which we can build a business that's going to be sustainable and absorb, maybe not a once in 100-year pandemic, but absorb the ups and downs we're going to see in funding coming from the Welsh Rugby Union. So therefore, it's got to be, getting the Arms Park, making sure that's a place people want to come and play rugby, so that's on and off the field. And thirdly, think about the longer term investors that we need to make sure we secure that future for rugby at the Arms Park in the longer term.
Okay.
I must congratulate the efforts made re Welsh language. It needs to continue so that the language becomes more prominent and is not hijacked by the Scarlets. Will it be included in the rebranding? I'll hand on to Alun in a moment, but one thing I can say is Mike, and you might want to sort of pick this up on the front end. But there's an awful lot of work that we've put into this over the last. And it's great to have it recognised here by Sean. But do you want to just give everyone a bit of a flavour of where we are currently and what you've got planned moving forward?
Yeah, no problem. So, probably the last 2-3 years, we've really had a drive with the Welsh language. And I've got to say, my colleague Owain is doing a brilliant job in that. He's obviously a first language Welsh speaker. So it's a real strength of his and, as a result of that, to the company. So all new branding, all new signage around the ground has been bilingual for the last 3, maybe 4 years. We're doing more and more in terms of our marketing and kind of general brand stuff of including the Welsh language, and you'll see that in our, actually I've got one here right next to me. So, little details of the new jersey include Welsh. I'm pretty confident in saying we're the only professional sporting team in Wales that have got a Welsh language podcast, which OWIN produces probably about one a month, which are brilliant. So it's a massive area of focus for us. We're very much aware of the growing number of Welsh schools opening in, just in Cardiff, for instance, and that's a massive market for us. So we're very proud to kind of increase our Welsh language. And the mention there of the Scarlets did make me chuckle, because almost on a weekly basis now we're seeing the Scarlets fans kind of looking across to us and with envy, really, and saying how much they'd like to see their team doing what we're doing around the language. So we're doing a lot more. We want to increase doing more, and long may it continue.
Yeah. Alun, anything to add?
Na, dwi'n cytuno'n llwyr. Mae lot mwy o Gymraeg yn y ddinas ac yn y rhanbarth. Mae pobl yn deall, i bod yn onest â chi. A dwi'n barch iawn bod ni'n gweithredu fel i ni nawr, a dwi'n credu bod mwy gallen ni wneud, ti'n bod, dwi'n edrych arno fe a'n meddwl, ti'n bod, byddwn ni eisiau wneud e anyway, achos ti'n bod, mae safle Cymreig ar hwn, ond dwi'n credu, ti'n bod, dwi'n balch mai ni yw'r rhanbarth sy'n wneud hwn yn iawn, ti'n bod, ni'n neud mwy na pob un arall. So what I'm saying is that I couldn't agree more, and I'm proud that of the work that we've done so far, and we're doing more than any other region. And I think sometimes we forget that there's more Welsh language spoken within the city of Cardiff and within the region itself than we possibly give it credit for. So we would want to do it, as part of our Welsh identity and our Welsh heritage. But I'm certainly very proud that we've taken the lead with this. So long may it continue. So.
Great stuff. It's disappointing that issues of redevelopment and recruitment still minimal compared to Scarlets remain unresolved. Please, can you give us an actual plan with actions and deliverables? Obviously, there's two big points there. One's the redevelopment, and the other one's the recruitment. I'll pick up the recruitment first. Pre-COVID, we were in a sort of final stage discussions to strengthen a few positions. COVID hit, and we had to reverse out of those for financial reasons. But we're and obviously we've navigated through the COVID storm. We are in the marketplace at the moment. Our primary focus has been the recontracting of our current squad, and that continues to be our primary focus. We're looking at Welsh players who may be playing outside of Wales, and who we might want to repatriate back to play in Wales. And we're also exploring a couple of options of overseas players coming in to strengthen, in particularly sort of ball carrying positions. So that's currently live, and we've got a couple of irons in the fire with that regard. But one of the things that would be remiss of me to not say is, our strategy is to develop from within. Our strategy was a few years ago was to invest in our academy, and we're seeing the fruits of that labour. Testament to Griff Rees, who's doing a brilliant job with his guys and team in the academy that are churning out the players that we're seeing now in the pro side. And I won't go into names, but it's you can see it all. We're also investing a lot of time and effort into a sponsorship program that I mentioned 18 months ago, and accepting that we may lose some of our academy kids across the bridge to educational establishments. and how can we've looked, and we've now got lots of arrangements in place to keep those relationships tight with Cardiff Blues, so we don't lose players after they finish studying to the likes of Bristol and Exeter and Gloucester. And I don't need to go into names because the announcement this morning is a testament to that. They're Cardiff boys, and for where we sit as a board, we want them playing through our system and into the pro team at Cardiff. So we're addressing that. In terms of the ground redevelopment, now this has been going on 15 or so years now, I think, so I'm not entirely sure where to start, but it remains #1 priority for myself and the board to have an extension on the lease which will enable us to redevelop. Dialogue continues. There's work going on behind the scenes to make sure that happens, because it sits in line, alongside, in harmony with the conversations we've just been having on the brand and the heritage and the future strategy. It all comes together as one, and I desperately want it to happen. It's as is everyone else on the board and involved with Cardiff Rugby. It's it's not a gift to give ourselves a lease. If it was, I'd have done it a while ago. But we're in dialogue, and it's a #1 priority. Is probably the best way to answer that. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to that.
No, it's something that occupies a lot of our time, and is, as you say, is vitally important. It is the top priority for us at this moment in time. We're working well. Everyone wants the same thing. We're working with our colleagues in the athletic club for that, our landlords, and everyone wants the same thing. So it's just a question of getting it over the line. Moving on from that, a redevelopment, the lease is one part. A redevelopment, would be fantastic. It's kind of in many respects, what Nigel's already touched on is linked to the redevelopment. Kind of top class players want to stay, in playing in the best environment and the best stadium, and we'll attract better talent if we have the best stage and the best infrastructure. And the same is true, I think, for fans, the fan experience, the match day experience. And Andrew's touched on the commercial, on the business planning side of it, and why it's so important to us for getting the business sustainable, now and into the future. Giving ourselves that longevity into the future. It sits in the heart of everything, really. It's not just a question of redevelopment, for the sake of it, or redevelopment just for the commercial side of it. It's actually very, very important for the rugby side of it as well. For what it's worth, my 10 pence on it, really, kind of, Richard. But I'm not sure if anybody else got anything to add on it. But it is top priority, and please, we are working very hard with the athletic club, who are working very hard as well. This isn't, this is everybody is doing it as quickly as we can.
I just taking it back a step, Nigel, to the I talked about the academy, and obviously your area of sort of high performance and player, and your experiences today. I mean, would you echo my? Obviously we've got this strategy in place and the development, and in terms of the structures we have in place at Cardiff Blues, maybe you give everyone a sort of bit of a your thoughts with regards to the importance of that.
I think the place to start is with the current squad. It's an exciting squad. It's a young squad. That squad's going to need time to develop. We're not a Toulon or a Toulouse of 15, 20 years ago. We're not going to go out and buy 6 or 8 internationals. We've already talked about money. We've got to be reasonable, and, to use Gordon Brown's word, prudent in the way that we go forward. And you start at the bottom and you look at the academy. We've got an exciting group of players in that academy, and I've been talking to Griff, and I was due to go and watch the academy train a week or so ago, but it was postponed at the last minute. through no one's fault, but I'm going to be looking at that academy, looking at what we're trying to recruit into that academy. What does the senior team need in terms of players in the next 6 to 8 years? Because that's where you've got to look, and it's got to be a strategy which holds water from academy to Cardiff Rugby Club to Cardiff Blues, and it's got to be aligned and it's got to be seamless. If you look at teams in other sports, if you look at Southampton, you look at Crewe, who grew their own. It was based on the academy and they punched above their weight. If you look at Saracens, and forget what has happened in the last year, 18 months, if you look at Saracens players, a number of them have come through the academy, and that's how they've been successful. We need to do it the Cardiff Blues way, Cardiff Rugby Club way, but we need our academy to be what our success is built on. And I think we're not a million miles away, but there are some tweaks which will bear fruit in the next 2, 3, 4 years. And a Cardiff Blues team, a Cardiff Rugby team, which is based on homegrown players. And when I mean homegrown players, I mean players within Wales can be competitive and can go on to win European titles. I really believe that. And that's my part of my role, to work with the executive and the coaching staff to bring that about and to make it a reality. I'm sorry I sound so enthusiastic about it, but I am enthusiastic about everything I do.
You go for it, Nigel.
Given current challenging times on and off the field, the board will have more than enough to manage. Would they be grateful for realistic suggestions from the supporters to boost funds? Of course, it was actually a topic of discussion at a recent board meeting. I think there was a separate question. I don't know if it's going to crop up in terms of a share sale. It was something that I took to the board as CEO to ask whether we needed to explore a share offering, because it had come up at AGMs in the past where supporters wanted to inform us that they were potentially interested if we ever needed to do it. It was felt that due to the loan, it needed further thought, and further thought is going to be given to that. But one thing I'd just like to add to this, it's been incredible, really. I mean, we finished the season back in February. We went to you, the supporters, and said, and gave you a choice whether you wanted your money back or to leave it in the company or to roll it over. And we were absolutely taken aback by the numbers that just wanted to continue to support the business. And it's I think for people like Andrew and Alun who work in other industries, the loyalty and support that we get as a company from the supporters is incredible and amazing. And it's but if there are ideas out there that supporters have, either fire them in directly or via the supporters club or trust or Blues Brothers, because if there are ideas, we'll listen to them, and we're open to exploring them. I would like to ask, what plans do you have to improve our digital offering? We have no app on our website, especially online shop would be better. I think retail's one we'll pick up in a minute, Mike. Is that right? I can touch on that. Do you want to pick up on the digital offering? Mike?
Yeah, just in terms specifically the app, I'm sure you remember we had an app probably 3-4 years ago, and one of the first things I did was I got rid of it because it simply wasn't fit for purpose. We've had a new website which was launched about a year ago now, maybe 18 months, and that was a massive improvement on what we had. It's compatible for all platforms. It was designed mobile first. So in terms of content, by having an app, you wouldn't have anything new. We're obviously always exploring new things we can do. We've got a few cool things lined up for the weekend. And you saw stuff that we did during lockdown, which was really innovative in terms of digital content. In the future, with regards to an app, 100% we want to do it. It's my personal belief, and I think it's the collective belief, that for an app for a rugby club to be successful, it needs to be a service-based app. And while we're in the process of hoping to get a new lease, hoping to potentially redevelop in the future, it would be something that would have to be kind of built into that. So it would really be a tool to enhance your matchday experience. And yeah, in terms of the shop, Richard will be able to expand on the retail more, but the shop website is being overhauled at the moment, and there should be an update on that in the coming weeks. Just move on. The next question was actually about the share thing, so we'll move on from that. I just covered it, Dickie, and here we are. The plan for RFC.
What is the plan for the team which plays in the Welsh Premiership? Then the season starts. Will it be a reserve team? I think we've sort of touched on this. It's the Rags team to Cardiff Blues. We moved it there at the beginning of the season that hasn't started. In terms of being it's sort of run separately like previous years, Cardiff RFC, the same people internally will continue to run it. So there's no changes with that regard. But we're waiting for a green light from Welsh Rugby Union to give us an indication of the expectation of whether they're going to return to playing. The challenges we faced as a professional organisation to get Cardiff Blues on the field, competing in Pro 14 and Will Be Europe, is incredible, and the resource and that goes behind it. And we're only seeing things now that are happening up at the north of England in one of the Premiership clubs. How easily if the right processes aren't followed, it's the bubble that is formed at Cardiff Blues around the professional rugby team is quite something. It's testament to our medical team. Everybody in the bubble, including myself and Alan and other directors, are tested on a weekly basis. The way that our players and staff have approached it has been brilliant, and so far we've had no cases. So in answer to the question, we think we probably answered it earlier, and that's the way the structure will continue. Should the team pick up playing again, maybe January or even beyond that, but we shall see.
I think it's an interesting question as well, because I think for me the Premiership goes beyond that as well. I mean, I'm really interested in Nigel's views on this one, but because I mean my own view is that there should be a greater alignment between the Premiership and the pro game. It's an intrinsic part of our pathway, and if you like, it's that link between the community game and the pro game. But Nigel, have you got any thoughts on that one?
I couldn't have said it any better. And we are really missing a trick if there isn't complete alignment. And I'd include the academy in that, obviously. A flow of academy players into Cardiff Rugby Club, those who are good enough going on to play for the Blues. And in Cardiff Rugby Club, the Premiership, you'll have those what you call players, journeymen, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, who that's their level. They'll continue to play there, but they're supplemented by people who can't get a game from the Blues, but in the Blues squad, who will come down and play on a regular basis, 4 or 5 of those a week. And you'll also have 1 or 2 academy players going up to play in the Premiership, those who are good enough as part of their development. A seamless pathway through to the Blues. That's how we'll be successful in the future.
This is the question about the shop. Why are we using the WRU shop to sell the new playing jerseys rather than our own? Is it a temporary arrangement or a more permanent one? If it is longer term, is there any impact on revenue? So the shop on match day and event days will remain at Cardiff Arms Park. Outside of that, because of the match deal with the Welsh Rugby Union, and ourselves being with Macron, it made absolute sense to carry our stock lines alongside theirs in the WRU shop. So that's where if supporters need to, once it's refurbed and open, that's where during the week people will be able to visit. The online store will continue, and then on match day the facility will continue at Cardiff Arms Park. So it's we think it's a great solution, and the service will improve in terms of the shop facility. We're also sort of looking at expanding the range, etc., on the retail side, but it doesn't take anybody to realise that retail is extremely challenging for everybody at the moment. It's probably one of the hardest hit through the crisis. So this is a positive outcome, we believe, and the supporters will be serviced to a greater degree with this arrangement. Blues fans are seen as some of the most passionate and vocal, especially the Cardiff Blues brothers, who make a lot of noise. They certainly do. Does an opportunity exist to further improve this? We hear you on the terraces. It's fantastic. The boys on the field, as Nigel alluded to, that notice it. One thing I do have to say is, we were unaware of the formation of a sort of formal grouping, calling it obviously is Cardiff Blues Brothers, and now that seems to be taking a more formal position. I know the meetings have taken place with some of our management team, and they've been impressed with some of the ideas and the enthusiasm. And we're all up for improving the customer experience, and we've also just got to bear in mind that there are supporters out there who might not be fans of the drum, but we're any atmosphere and a better atmosphere we're keen to promote. So we'll work with you guys, and look forward to doing so alongside the other two organisations. Cardiff Blues Brothers announced they've linked with Men's Sheds. I'm just want to see that this announcement wasn't covered or published. Can you confirm how they are taking mental health seriously? I think sort of the fact it wasn't covered potentially linked to the lack of formality of the relationship, and apologies if it got missed on the social media channels. Mike and I have already had a conversation. And these are things that can be picked up in the dialogue you have with my management team. In terms of taking mental health seriously, there was actually a plan to align ourselves with a Barbers Chair mental health organisation, where we were on a match day. It was going to be linked to guys having their hair cut, and at the same time, the barber is actually trained mental health expert to be able to potentially have dialogue through that. So we were looking at that at a fixture towards the end of last season, but we never managed to put it in place. I've touched on the importance of mental health internally as an organisation. But if we can work with you guys at Cardiff Blues Brothers to improve or to do things at the ground, then we're definitely keen to have that dialogue. It's it's a massively important issue, and we look forward to having those conversations.
Cool. That was the final questions submitted prior to this. There's a few that have come in, which I'm just scanning now to just see if we've covered them already. There's one here about outside investments. I don't know if you've kind of touched on that, or if you'd want to add anything else.
Well, I think come back to what I said before. I think it's part of that longer term strategy and sustainability. And a lot of that's linked, as we've just discussed, identity through to the arms part, the future for that, and then how does that all play out and play its part in terms of, I suppose, what an attractive investment proposition Cardiff Rugby should be. So I think we've got a few stages to go to before we get to that point, but it's absolutely something the board's got on the agenda. Yeah.
There's one here from Jamie Anderson as well. Richard, I don't know if you want to kick off, but I'm happy to add a couple of things on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking to be creative on our match days. I mean, sitting here at the moment, it would just be absolutely amazing to have fans at the Arms Park with us. It's or even it would be amazing to I'm saying that to actually be back at the Arms Park rather than Rodney Parade. But we look at creative ways. We do have challenges. I keep banging the same drum. We have challenges with the infrastructure at our disposal to look at this. But Mike, if you want to add a bit of sort of detail, if you've got any to this one.
Yeah, so probably back in February, March, during the Six Nations, myself and our stadium manager Jamie had a number of really good meetings on kind of overhauling the matchday experience and potentially leaning on the WRU for some of their facilities a little bit, which we could link into the Arms Park. And that kind of continued with Reece Blumberg coming back. So it was all kind of stuff that we were in the early stages of planning for this season. But then obviously coronavirus has struck. So all of that is on the back burner, but there is a huge amount that we want to kind of change up. Naturally, that is going to it's going to be limited to our facilities and what we can provide at the Arms Park, but there are little tweaks. I mean, something as small as the Eco Cups, which I know a lot of fans are really passionate about. They were due to be trialled at a couple of the games at the back end of last season, and obviously we still haven't managed to do that. But there are a lot of kind of small wins, so to speak, that we would look to implement straight away.
Yeah, I mean, I also just to add to that, we took a supporters bar away, didn't we? That was utilised as the gym, and the players frequently remind me that we had them training in a bar. We'll take that back, and it'll become a public facility again. And once we're back at the Arms Park, it's probably the right time for me to address the pitch at the Arms Park that's been in the media a bit. We handed over the pitch to NHS to be part of the Dragon Heart Hospital, and unfortunately, due to the longevity of the generators and the marquees and everything else that went in to support the hospital, it's done some damage to the pitch, which means that we're going to have to put a new surface in at the Arms Park, so we've taken the decision as a board that as it currently stands, all our fixtures until the end of November will be played at Rodney Parade, and we're waiting for just the suppliers to give us a timeline. It may be till the end of December that we're not able to get back on the Arms Park. The only positive from that is that with no fans allowed due to COVID, the surface at Rodney Parade is fantastic, and we're grateful to our colleagues over there for allowing us to do that. It's not ideal, but we'll be back there and on a new artificial surface, and that process will start in the coming weeks. So it's but the biggest change, and I'll say it again, the match days will be in a developed stadium, enhanced stadium, improved stadium, where we can have the right technology, we can have the right apps to deliver the right level of service to what is expected by the supporters in modern day stadia. It's not an excuse. It's the reality, and but we do as good a job as we can with the tools at our disposal.
Yeah, I think all the other questions that have come in, we have touched on and answered to some degree this evening. So I don't think there's anything fresh that we haven't covered. So we could probably round it off there.
Yeah, I don't know. Just from me, and if anyone else wants to say any words, thank you for your continued support and understanding. It's hopefully, I think we're in for a long winter, and certainly things seem to be pointing that direction. If we at Cardiff Blues can do anything to assist you or your families in whatever it might be, please either shout directly or via the Trusted Supporters Club or the Blues Brothers. And it remains obviously for me to, probably Alan can close it out, but thank you for your time, and hopefully see you soon. And we'll be doing another one of these in how many weeks' time, Mike?
Well, as a minimum, I think we're going to look to do something quarterly, potentially a few more chucked in as well.
And obviously, just thank you to Nigel and Andrew. But Alan, do you want to just close it out?
Yes, of course. Thanks, Richard, and thanks to Nigel and Andrew and Mike as well for joining us this evening, and of course to all you fans, isn't it? And it's it never ceases to amaze me, how our fans, support through thick and thin. And I think we've all had challenging times over the last 6 to 8 months, and as Richard says, we're probably in for a bumpy winter as well. But through that thick and thin, through all the challenges that we've had, the one constant has been the unstinting support of our fan base. It is truly humbling, and it's I think on behalf of the entire board, the entire staff, all the players, everybody associated, all the sponsors, everybody associated with Cardiff Blues, thank you so much for for that continued support and that unstinting support. We really can't wait to welcome everybody back to a game of rugby, to watch one live actually at the ground, at the Arms Park. I think it's something that we're all craving for. We're all fans at the end of the day, and I think we're all kind of craving for the same thing. So if I see any of you around, please, stop, have a 2-meter chat, anytime whatsoever. But, I look forward to kind of otherwise seeing you back at the Arms Park. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.